Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. Do you know, I've been doing seminars and consulting and coaching people for almost all my adult life. For 50 years now, for 57 years I've been in this business. And there's one question that I get hit with every day. How do I eliminate fear? How do I eliminate fear? And you know, that's a question that most people really never learn the answer to. And the answer is very clear. First of all, you don't want to eliminate all fear. Fear can be a very good thing. Fear can caution you. Take it easy, don't just jump off the pier if there's rocks underneath it or something. Fear is a healthy thing. And we want to understand that fear is caused by ignorance. That is the primary reason. Now, you'll find people wanting to enter business for themselves. They're at a job they don't like. They've got a dream that they want to execute, but they're afraid. They're afraid to step out and do it. We find people that want to invest and they've got the money and it's a good investment, but they're afraid, and so they stay away from it. Fear is a terrible thing in that respect. I was in a job and I had a dream and I was afraid to quit the job. I was on a fire department, and it was no one had quit the fire department for many, many years. Nobody ever left the job, and they couldn't fire you. So when I was leaving, I was scared. I was really scared. But I sat down with a mentor, and he helped me understand something. And then I've studied this for a long time over the years. Now I'm going to show you something here. I want you to look at that drawing. That drawing represents you. The big circle represents your mind. The top part of it, where there's a choice, that's your conscious mind. And there you've got all kinds of mental faculties. You've got the ability to think anything you want. The bottom half of the big circle is your subconscious mind. It has no ability to choose. It has no ability to think. It'll accept whatever you give to it. And it's what you give to it that's going to determine what happens to the little circle there, because that's your body. So the way we act, the way the body moves, is an expression of what's going on in the mind. And unfortunately, it's generally an expression of what's going on in the subconscious mind, the lower part. Now, ignorance has a polar opposite. It's called knowledge. Ignorance is not knowing. Knowledge is knowing. That knowledge is information. Well, some people live in ignorance all their life. Others don't. Now, I did live in ignorance for a long, long time. And then I started studying, and everything changed for me. But it didn't change by accident. It changed because I began to study and I developed something that was called understanding. That's what Solomon said. He said, in all you're getting, get understanding. So I'm going to ask you to stay real close here and really look at this. There's a power that flows into our mind. It never stops flowing. In fact, it flows to and through us. You can actually photograph this energy leaving your body. Now that may sound like a ridiculous statement, but there was a Russian chap by the name of Semyon Kirlian, way back in 1934, I think it was 34. He perfected a form of photography that would photograph the energy leaving a person's body. He was photographing mass, really, and he could photograph the energy. And if you change the images in your mind, you alter the vibration that your body was in, and the color of that energy would change. And the density of it depending upon concentration. So let's look at this drawing now. The top part, we say you can think, and you can think anything you want. Your subconscious mind is programmed. That's where a paradigm is. A paradigm is a multitude of information that's a program in your subconscious mind. It's habits, a multitude of habits that control our behavior to an enormous degree. Now, the conscious mind, the thinking mind, can take over control. The problem is it rarely does. Most people are controlled by their paradigm. This would explain why some absolutely brilliant people, they've got all kinds of knowledge, but their results wouldn't indicate that they know much of anything because they're broke, they can't find work, and yet the truth is they're brilliant. Well, that's another subject, and we would have to talk about that at another time, but let's keep going here. The conscious mind, remember we said you had the ability to choose. Well, what do most people do? If they see a situation they don't really understand, they start worrying. Am I going to have enough money? Am I able to do this? Worry and doubt are both psychic diseases. It is a gross waste of this energy that we talked about that flows into your consciousness. We take that, we can make anything out of it we want. What do? We doubt and worry. Why do we do that? Because we're letting the outside world control our thinking, and that's an error. Now, when you build an idea, if it's a negative idea, and you impress it upon the subconscious mind, that sets up a vibration called fear. And that's what people want to eliminate. Well, I'm going to show you, and now this is just a very brief look at it. Our company goes into depth on all this so that you can not only eliminate the fear, you can learn how to make things happen in a very big way. Now think of what's happened here. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. You took and you had a choice. You had your choice of what you wanted to build with it. And what did you build? You build a negative idea, doubt and worry. Then you got emotionally involved with the negative idea because the subconscious is also your emotional mind. Now whatever's impressed must be expressed, and it expresses itself in the physical body as anxiety. Now that's when most people get some Valium or something like that. They drug themselves. They don't understand the cause of anxiety, and most people don't talk about their anxiety. They don't show it very well. Do you know what they do? They suppress it. They bottle it up inside. Now, no good can come from that. In fact, a lot of bad can come from that because the suppression that's impressed and bottled up inside turns into something we call depression. A lot of people talk about, I've seen it talked about on television at times, on talk shows, and they act as if they don't know the cause of it. I know the cause of it, and you're looking at it right there. That's the cause of depression. Whereas it starts with doubt and worry. The worry turns into fear. Fear is expressed in anxiety. We suppress the anxiety, and it turns into depression. The depression eventually will cause your body to break down. That's what's called disease. You know, St. Clair Lewis was right. He said, we don't die, we kill ourselves. That disease turns into disintegration. Now that all may look like, oh, come on, you've simplified this too much. You can't simplify it too much. Our problem is we don't understand ourselves. We don't understand how the mind works and the relationship of the mind to the body and the outside world. Now, can you change this? Absolutely you can change it. Faith based on understanding. Blind faith isn't worth diddly. Blind faith, first time you get tested, boom, the faith is gone. Do you know, faith and fear are two interesting things. They both absolutely demand you believe in something you cannot see. But let's take a look at this a little further, okay? Here we are. Remember, power is flowing into our consciousness. We have the ability to think anything we want. The paradigm, that's the subconscious, that has no abilities to reject. It'll just take anything, doesn't have a choice. So the opposite of the doubt and worry, have you noticed the polar opposite? See the two symbols? They represent a law of opposites, or a law of polarity. Negative, positive, up, down, hot, cold, in, out. Everything has an opposite, question, answer. Now, the opposite of doubt and worry is understanding. Solomon said that a long time ago. He said, in all you're getting, get understanding. There's only one way to develop understanding. There is no other. One route, one road, and that is through study. If you do not study, you're not going to understand. Now, when we start to understand ourselves, our world changes. Before I ever started to study this, I held dumb jobs. I had no money. I was broke. I was unhappy. Today, I'm happy, healthy, wealthy. I have a company that operates all over the world. Do you know, the first year I started to study this, I went from 4,000 to 175,000, and I went over 1 million. No formal education, no business experience. Understanding. Understand how to win. Have you ever noticed there's people who aren't very bright, yet they're winning in a big way, and there's other people who are absolutely brilliant and they're broke? Now, the opposite is also true. There's not too many people that are bright and broke, but opposites do attract. Now, let's look here. We go from understanding, we impress it, that's where faith comes in. You see, faith is the ability to see the invisible, to believe in the incredible, and that will permit us to receive what the masses call impossible. We've got to understand how this power that's flowing to and through us, how it moves into form. How do we get results? That is very important. That's what our company teaches. You attend our seminars, you'll see it. You'll really understand it, and that's what you need. You need understanding. See, there's all kinds of forms of study. We get in, just study a book. Well, sometimes the book doesn't do it. Sometimes you need somebody to explain things to you. Faith manifests not in anxiety like its polar opposite, fear. It manifests in well-being. You remember we said fear was suppressed? Well-being is expressed. You'll see a person, there's a quickness to their step, there's a smile on their face, good handshake. They've got things going in the right direction. Why? Because they understand. Now, they're faced with the same situation. It isn't the situations that depress people. It isn't in situations that scare people. It isn't a situation that cause people to live in fear or anxiety. It's a lack of understanding of the situation. A bad situation is also a good one. If it's real bad, it's real good. There's your law of opposites again. Now, the expression picks up speed. Where we said before, it turns into depression, the expression turns into acceleration. And why? I'll tell you why. Because we're at ease. There's no tenseness. And the energy's flowing freely. We're creative beings. That's how you create. And the at ease causes creation, where its polar opposite causes disintegration. That's right. Now you've got to admit, that's the way to live. And you can live that way. All right? So you got a choice. You can go that way, or you can go that way. What way do you want to go? Do you want to live with fear and anxiety and disease, or do you want to go that way? I think you should look us up. Go to Proctor Gallagher Institute. Check us out. We've got some phenomenal programs. And you know something? Just like you learn to drive a car, or maybe operate your computer, fly a plane, type, you can learn how to take control over yourself. It's a beautiful idea, and this is a way you can live all the time. I'm just giving you a quick look at this. Wouldn't you like to understand it in depth? It's Bob Proctor. Thank you.
Check us out at ProctorGallagherInstitute.com for tips, tools, and resources.